one of the main reasons, or one of the main things Ernie was interested in when he suggested the topic was the planner. And that's this button here, or pill in the upper left-hand corner. Planner, if you press that, then you essentially comes up with a map. And I've already got a location selected, but let's say you want to, I'll show you a picture here. Let's say you're planning to be in Los Angeles and wanted to go down and shoot a sunset shot at Santa Monica Pier. And rather than having the sun come down in the middle of the building that's at the end of the pier like we've got here, let's say you want to be able to have the sun come down maybe just to the left of the pier here. You want to find out or figure out, okay, when will it actually happen? Or will it, first of all, will it happen? And because I've got this picture here, you can probably assume that it will happen at some point. But not every combination of foreground objects and where the sun will set will work for you. But anyway, let's say you want to know when you might have to be at Santa Monica Pier in order to get a sunset shot when that sun is coming down to the left of the pier, when you're standing somewhere on the beach like I was showing here. So if we go into the planner, and again, down at the bottom, I think it's cut off on my screen. I think maybe you can see it better now. Down at the bottom, it says load. You press on load and search for an address. So Santa Monica Pier. And it comes up with a suggestion. Click on the suggestion, and it actually takes you basically right to the middle of the pier. So by zooming out, I can see a little more of the surrounding area. And you can see two sort of pins on here, a red pin and a black pin. The red pin represents where you're standing with your camera. The black pin represents the object that you're pointing your camera at, or where that's sort of the line of sight that you're interested in. So first of all, I'm going to move that red pin over here to the beach somewhere. And to do that, essentially you just touch the pin and you'll see it pops up, and then you move it over to wherever you want to take your shot from, release it, and it sets up that new location. Now, sometimes when you first bring up a location, there is no black pin showing.
Right.
And to get that black pin, you notice at the top, sliding across here, there's a number of different little menus as you keep sliding across. The one you want is actually the second one from the very left-hand corner, and it's the one that shows a red pin and a black pin. And if your black pin isn't showing, then just tap on the little picture of the red and black pin, and the black pin will appear somewhere on the map. In this case, because I'd already placed it, it puts it back where it was previously. So anyway, similarly to moving that red pin, you can move that black pin anywhere you want. Essentially, you just touch it, it pops up, you move it, and then release it, and it sets the black pin in that spot. So I said I want to figure out when the sun will set, and will be setting just to the left of the pier. So I'm going to set that pin just to the left of the end of the pier. So if I zoom in, this little information there. So there's that end of the pier, and my black pin is just to the left of it. Now, if I go backtrack a little bit, you'll see a yellow line and a red line on the map. And that essentially represents the direction towards sunrise, the direction towards sunset. Down at the bottom, you see this little graph. And by just touching the graph, you can slide it back and forth, and that basically changes your time. So for today, it shows you the direction towards sunset, the direction towards sunrise. And as you slide that graph back and forth, it shows you that orange line shows you the direction to the sun at any given time during the day. So let's say you're going to plan a trip to Santa Monica Pier, and you want to figure out what time or what days in the future, if I can go to the pier at any time of my choosing, what days would be good to go and get this particular shot. So I've set my pin for where I'm going to shoot from. I've set the black pin to where I want the sun to be coming down. And now down in the left-hand corner, it says find. So I press that, and it brings up this menu. And it shows 4 choices. Sun at azimuth. Azimuth is essentially the angle to the sun. Sun at azimuth and elevation, and that's the one I actually want, because it says, okay, when will the sun be at this particular angle, and when will it be at this particular elevation? In other words, I'm interested in is sunset, but it could be when will the sun be, 3 degrees or 5 degrees above the horizon. So I'm interested not only in the angle towards the sun, but also the elevation of the sun. So I'm going to press on that. And at the top, it shows a date range. So if I click on that, and I've already got the start date set for today. Let's say I want to know any time in the next 2 years when I could go to Santa Monica Beach and find the right conditions to get the sun coming down to the left of the pier. So down at the bottom, I can choose 2 years. The other thing I'm interested in is the elevation. If I press on that button, this shows the possible elevations that the sun will be at. There's what it's saying, for example, is you're never going to be able to shoot a noonday sun from that angle, which kind of makes sense. The sun at noon is normally somewhat above you, not towards the horizon. So in this case, the angle to the sun, I want it setting, so it's pretty much going to be, when is it going to be on the horizon or at 0 feet? I could also set it for, say, just above the horizon, but I'm interested in the sunset. So I set that essentially for 0 feet of elevation, which is essentially the horizon. And now, up in that corner, upper right-hand corner, there's a little magnifying glass, and which is the find button. If you click on that, it brings up a whole list of all possible dates in the future, in the next 2 years, when I can stand at that point on the beach, know that the sun is going to come down just to the left of the end of Santa Monica Pier.
That's cool.
So let's say planning a trip, say, okay, let's go sometime in October to Santa Monica Beach. So say, okay, October 12th, we'll pick that date. So I just click on the date there, and it comes up with a second here. It comes up with that same map, that same plan, but set for October 12th. You can see the date down in the lower right-hand corner here. And at 6:20 p.m., if I'm standing this point on the beach, I will be able to get a picture of the sun coming down to the left of Santa Monica Pier. A couple other little things the app will tell
Before
you.
you move on,
Yep.
Can you go back to the last slide?
Yep.
Okay, so this is showing the black marker, though, still sort of over the pier. Did you
That's
have
just
to-
to the left of the pier.
Okay,
If I zoom in, you can see it's,
okay, yeah. All right, thanks.
so it hasn't moved out of the pin.
That's amazing.
And okay, so if I click on the little layers emblem down here, there's a couple of other things that are useful. If I click on the sun, moon, and then press done, it brings up a little box here. And if I go up to the top here, it indicates that in my example here, the distance from my red pin to the end of the Santa Monica Pier is about 1,132 feet. So if I go down to this box here and press on the little box at the end of it, I can set my distance to 1,132 feet. And it tells me that that distance, the sun will look like it's about 10 and a half feet in diameter. So, you know, that's going to be a reasonable size next to the end of the pier. Obviously, if you change your distance, the sun is you know, relative to the obviously the diameter of the sun isn't changing, but what it appears to be in terms of the diameter of the sun relative to the buildings and so on, so the relative diameter of it will change the closer you get or the farther away from the end of the pier. So it does give you some idea of how big the sun will appear in the sky next to your subject.